"21st Century Entrepreneurship" with Martin Piskarik.
Yeah, everybody kind of knows this. It's going into this whole AEO, like people want to be found on search. And they don't really know how, or they don't really know like the techniques to do it. And in all honesty, that's the main reason why I built GStacker, because I've used it since 2014 personally. Like I've done this all myself, but then I had a friend that told me, he was like, stop like holding your secrets within. He's like, you worked at Google, you know, like a lot of secrets. And he's like, I'll always keep your secrets safe. He goes, but me personally, he goes, I don't have any secrets to keep. He goes, so if you're willing to help people, he goes, you should help people. And that's what made this whole transition into a product, because that whole conversation with him, I was like, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't hold this captive anymore. I should give it to regular business owners. Your typical business owners have a couple $100 extra a month to spend for their marketing, and that's pretty much it. They're not heavy hitters. They're just trying to make their business survive. They're trying to bring home food to their family. They're trying to get their business seen. They just don't know how. And that's really the reason why I built GStacker, was just for that reason, because a lot of businesses don't know what to do. They have no clue. Especially when I start talking to them, because then they're like, well, shouldn't I do this or shouldn't I do that? And it's like, oh gosh, you really don't know. Like, you really don't get it. And personally, for me, it's always been like, I've thought people were always at my level. Like talking to my wife, she was like, nobody knows what you know. Like, you got to stop thinking that people know what you know. Like, they don't know what you know. It's hard for me to comprehend that a business doesn't understand what a CID is, or a KGID. Like, and so when I mention that, people are like, what is that? And it's like, well, to me, it's like, oh, that's a customer ID. That's what Google refers to your Google business page as, a customer ID. And the KGID is a knowledge graph ID. That's how they associate your business with what it's giving. So when talking to more and more businesses, they're like, I don't know any of this. Where do I find this out? So GStacker built all of that in. They just enter their brand name and it does everything for them. Builds the content, builds the images, does everything for them. They don't have to think. Because you got to think too, if you're running your business, if you're a plumber, you're a landscaper, you're a doctor, you're an architect, do you have time to sit there and spend 8 hours on YouTube every single night or on the weekends to figure out what SEO is, or look at what updates happened, or how to, structure your site, or what content to write, or how to put in your customer ID number, or what YouTube video to refer to, or how to interlink, or no business knows that. They don't get it. And then if you throw them into SEMrush, you need a manager to do that for you, because they can't figure it out. So that was the whole piece of GStacker, was click a couple of buttons and watch it do everything for you. My name is Ferdinand Mehlinger. The reason I know kind of what I know is because I worked for Backrub in 1996, who you all know is Google. But I was one of the original team members that helped to write the patented technology that you use for everyday search. So the algorithm that everybody uses for search on a daily basis, that was the team that I was on when I was 19 years old. It wasn't like that was what I was trying to do. It was just something I fell into because my dad worked for NASA and at JPL, and I was just a big nerd growing up. So I understood how to code, and I just wanted a good paycheck, and I wanted to have fun. And I knew that what we were doing at Backrub at the time was going to be something that was going to change the world. So learning how to map that data for them and then patenting it and turning that into a whole process, that's what everybody knows as Google, but that's what I knew as my first job. the moment came when Google became Google, and our team had asked for uh, healthcare, 65. This is in 1999-ish. So we asked for $65,000 a year, healthcare, and stock. We pretty much got ignored, and then we came into work that next week, and all the furniture was gone. All the doors were locked. Nobody was there. I mean, we were just looking at each other like, what do we do? So we just kind of went behind us to a cafe, like, those work cafe type things. We just went there and we sat there and we had like this quiche sandwich. And we saw like probably about 30-45 minutes of us sitting there. We saw one of the main investors at the time. So there was a bunch of investors prior to this part, but this main investor, he came in his Mercedes, because it was a beautiful Mercedes. He comes speeding in the parking lot, pulls up to the front parking space, because that was his parking space, and goes to the front door and then rattles it again, can't get in, and then runs back out to his car and then speeds off. 2 weeks later, he committed suicide, and that's when Google became Google. I decided at that moment, when that happened, that I was going to make sure that any client that I had was not going to pay any ad spend, because I knew that's what they were doing. And I knew that since I had kind of the grandma's golden recipe to, the best, the best made steak that's out there, I knew that I had that in my back pocket. So why not give that to somebody and say, hey, don't spend money on them over here, because all they're going to do is keep going into your pocket constantly, just going to keep going into your pocket, where you could organically rank and just do things the right way, which is what they want you to do anyway. And then you aren't spending anything. So that became kind of like my mission. In a sense, it was kind of like payback, because I knew what I wanted. But now it's more just trying to help. I was younger at the time. Now it's more, I just want to help these businesses kind of understand this isn't like a wizard sitting in the back behind some, curtain that's making a pot of stew and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to rank you." And it's a mathematical equation. It's really simple. It's just you have to understand, what that equation is and how to, top that equation. So instead of 2 + 2 = 4, 2 + 3 = 5. Really simple stuff. So that's pretty much it in a sense. So the way that Google patent the original search algorithm that you're using right now in search, the way it works is it's a mathematical equation that says if a link that comes in, to your main site, a link comes into your main site, how important is that link that's coming in? And the only way that they can determine how important that link is if it's done by an equation, meaning everybody's heard of domain authority, everybody's heard of trust factor, everybody's heard of page rank. If you haven't, it's pretty big within, the SEO world. But all of those are numbers. So and there's another 200 rules that Google follows, that bot follows when it comes to your website. So it's gathering all that information and then doing an equation at the end of the analysis. So at the end of that analysis, if that equation is higher or lower than your competitor, that's going to determine where you rank. A lot of people show up at a lower equation. So your competitor maybe has, let's just say, for a roundabout number, has 500 rules, 500, an equation of 500. Let's just say that equation is 500. Yours may be 450. So there may only be 50 things that you need to meet to match that. Now those 50 things may come to your H1s, which are your headings, your H2s, which is a second type of heading, your H3s, your metas, your schemas, images, location data. So everything has a numbered equation with it. So that's kind of how the mathematical equation comes about to determine your ranking factor. A number of other things that go into it, but that's the basis of it, that pattern of how everything gets found. I think what people really need to understand now, because, and this just happened. The only reason I'm saying this is because I just had a meeting with Google's security and compliance team when I built out GStacker. And because I was asking for so many scopes and permissions to users' accounts to do the work, they were sharing with me pieces of the newest algorithm that they updated everything with, which is called the information gain algorithm. They shared with me within that algorithm what needed to be done to help them if I wanted to have an AI app that was going to be approved by them. So it was kind of like, if you want to do this, we need to understand why you need access to this. And if you need access to this, we need to understand what you're trying to do with it so that we can see and approve you if we want to let you go that far. So I went through that with them. I got rejected probably like 15 times, maybe like 10. But during that process, it was great because I learned. And I think what a lot of people need to learn right now is, especially if you're a business, the old SEO has changed. Like, it's gone. It's dead. It's completely gone. Everybody knows that for the last year, AI has been like the massive, go-to. Everybody's creating content with AI. They're building blogs. They're building social channels. They're building all their social content. However, what they're not realizing, and I want you to remember these words, the information gain, that those two words, information gain. What they're not realizing is Google just did an update in regards to the information gain that they want to show users when they are searching. So because of AI slop, what has happened the last year, that's a bunch of generalized content that doesn't have any information gain for you as a user, for you or me as a user, because everybody's been kind of doing the same thing. Write me a blog post about being the best pizza store in St. Louis. Write me a blog post to say I'm the best, mobile detailer for yachts in Miami. It's the same thing because everybody's asking the same thing. So they are showing that as invisible now, because what they're doing, this is really kind of cool. They're tracking, and don't think of it's bad, like this is bad. They're just tracking to see when you go to a website and you visit website A, if you see website A and you spend, like, say 23 seconds, or let's just say 13 seconds on website A, you bounce back. Then you go to website B, that's within the search results. You spend 47 seconds on website B. That show, and they're, remember, they're following you. That shows you that there's an information gain that you got on website B that you didn't have on website A. Now, if you go back and you search website C and you spend 1 minute and 30 seconds on website C, and there's really no bounce back, now they're seeing that the information gain of the highest authority and the highest relevance is website C. So that then gets sent back and then gets thrown up. It's not backlinks anymore. It's all about your authority, and it's all about the idiosyncratic value that you as a business bring to them in the search. They don't want to see the same, we're the best restaurant in Laguna Beach. They want to see, well, we're the best Italian restaurant that serves scallops that are seared to the perfection, and we have 52 gold star review. They want to see that much information. That's what I did with GStacker. I built that all into that so that users wouldn't have to figure this out and try to go with it. And I even did a patent. I filed for a patent because I knew that Google, I saw them do what they did in 96. So I did the same thing when I developed a whole cultural representation algorithm into this app, because I knew that with where algorithms are going now, there's no cultural representation. Everything is the same. So you and me are the same person. Even though we live in totally separate areas, we're the same person to that algorithm. However, now with what I've done with my patented algorithm, it brings in location intelligence and cultural background. So it's going to actually, per your settings, it's going to look and see who you are, where you're located, and then associate you with you and your culture and your holidays and your diet and your sayings. It gets to know you, which no other algorithm is doing. So that was kind of what I saw as a weakness. And then I saw that businesses needed, but they wouldn't really know how to do. But if they could just click a setting and then set it that way, then it's easier for them. And then now this provides that much more information gain for Google and all of the data that it's reading on that business. What I figured for business users, for any users that aren't SEO or programmers or developers, for them, just clicking a button is what they want to do. Nobody wants to go in there and try to figure out how to work things. So that was the main reason I set up the whole cultural intelligence with just a click of a button. You set it in there, you just set it to what you want it to be. And now everything that represents your business with GStacker is related to you and the settings that you set. So for instance, if you're a Hispanic landscaper in Katy, Texas, now it knows exactly who you are. I built in a demographic aspect too. So it pulls in the demographics of your specific area. So it knows how much people make, it knows the affluence level, it knows what cultures are around your area, because it's only fair if we're going to be showing your culture. Well, what cultures also do you serve? Because you could be have a Korean background and then be serving in Koreatown. Or you could have a Korean nail salon, but be serving in Huntington Beach, where it's, purely, Caucasians. So it needs to understand what that relevance is per your brand, per your services, per your product. And the more granular it gets for Google, the higher it's going to rank you, because it's that information gain. Now, I did say that backlinks didn't work, but let's say that you get a backlink from like USA Today. Well, of course, that's going to work because it's a verifiable source. But if you're getting a backlink from, Joe's Garage that makes, your remote controls, that doesn't do anything for you. Nor should you try to link to some like link farm that's going to get you in trouble. You want it, the way that GStacker works is it builds in all of these links internally on Google's ecosystem. Google trusts itself. Everybody knows this. Google will never penalize itself. You never see Google penalizing any of its properties. You see it penalizing Bing, you see it penalizing Yahoo, you see it penalizing Reddit, but you never, ever will see it penalizing itself. Why? Because it's in the algorithm and it's in the patent. It will never penalize itself. It will drop information down, but it will never penalize itself. So you're always safe building an ecosystem on Google's properties. The second piece of that is Google wants you to build that ecosystem within those properties. The more you do this, the more they're going to reward you, but people just don't understand how to do it. So that was the main reason, again, of why I did this, because it's such an important piece if you want to stay in business. Business isn't a joke. We know this. It's not something that you can play around with. If you don't have income coming in, and it's just because of a mistake that you didn't know that you were making, that's going to affect you horribly with your family life, with your, we all know as an entrepreneur or running a business, there's those moments at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning where you're stressing. You don't know where that next piece is going to come from. And if you got this sitting on top of you, now you're worried about like, oh, well, how do I get seen? How do I do that? Is going to compound everything. And that's just going to compound issues in your family life that just don't need to be there when the answer is here. So that's kind of the reason I built this, is because this is kind of what I have to offer the world. I can't do really anything else, but I can offer this. But I felt this was really important because I think that a lot of businesses don't see this. And this is the main way that Google sees you and the authority that it's trying to give you. If you don't give it what it needs, you're never going to be seen because it doesn't have any information to show you. So it makes sense, but you maybe just didn't know that. So, but why put that on you as a business owner? You know what I mean? Like they don't send that to you in an email saying you need to do this, you need to do that. You have no clue. So yeah, that's why GStacker's here. When I built it, I wanted to make sure people understood how powerful this could be for them, not only for SEO, but there's a lot of things with Google's ecosystem that I see internally that are wrong. So what I did with this was, everybody knows you go into Google Drive, it's a mess. It's a mess. There's crap everywhere. Like it's just everywhere. So what this does for you when it builds out the content for your brand is it actually goes and organizes your Google Drive by your brand. So it's going to build out the content pieces, the image pieces, every image that it makes for you, which is really kind of cool too, is it will store in your Google Drive. So it's not like you got to go to Unsplash or these are yours. It goes to your account. It's associated with who you are and your business. So it's not like these images that are made up they're AI generated, but they're AI generated behind algorithmic prompts that are related specifically to your business. So everything that you do within the content of these stacks that you get 2 stacks free. You can see exactly what it will build for you. It'll build out a Google Doc for you because that's the foundation. It's going to build out the Google Drive. It will build out a Google Calendar event. So a lot of people don't know this, but Google Calendar events are public information. And I just want people to kind of think about this for a second. If there is public information that's being made available to people that people's lives depend on. Remember, these are doctor's appointments. These are surgeries. These are medication times. These are directions to different places that you need to be there at a certain time or events. So this has to be kept on a very high level of indexing. Indexing is when Google puts something into their system and it holds it there and it caches it, makes sure that it is seen to people. So they put it in, they store it, they know that it's there. Indexing in the SEO world is something that's like this mystery man. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. Nobody has any clue. Give you one hint, and I've been doing this since 2014. If you use a calendar event and you make that calendar event public, that calendar event is going to be indexed immediately. Now, don't you think everything within that calendar event is going to be indexed too? So why not add something to your website? Why not add your product? Why not add your service? Why not add your socials? So that's another thing that GStacker does, is it builds out these calendar events for you that are reoccurring on a daily basis. So you're constantly getting new links and it updates in the system. So when you add new, it updates that. So it's a living live link. Because that's what Google wants to see. But those are just little pieces that businesses don't have time to think about, nor should they. They don't need to know this. This is like my nerdy stuff that I worry about in the middle of the night that needs to be done for businesses, but businesses need to worry about what they need to do. So this is what it builds for you just off of a couple of clicks of a button. And then it also will build out a Google Sheet for you that's public. Because remember, Google Sheets, if you make those publics, can share links too. Those are things that parks and recreations have to share on a daily basis and make public, because now these are events that they need to share with different communities. Why aren't you a community yourself? So you can make your own Google Sheet. And then we add in RSS feeds into those so that you can add. So we hit every nuance that you don't even have to think of. I did a lot of expert SEO, AEO, GEO aspects to this whole piece of GStacker so that you wouldn't have to think about things. It's just one of those things that I think businesses should have in their back pocket and that need to be using on a daily basis. It's something that guides you and gives you the right instructions on what you need to do to move forward, because it's going to look at your competitors as soon as you enter your brand. It does a whole brand analysis for you. So it's going to look at all your competitors. It's going to look at what they have, what you don't have, and then it builds out a whole content map system for you. So it builds out a cluster map, builds out topical clusters for you, so that you just all click a button and build a stack. You don't have to do anything because it's too much research. To do all that research by yourself, or to have the algorithms to know how to do that research, would take you. I mean, I'm 20 years deep in this business, so it's not easy. It wasn't like this was built overnight. It's over 300,000 lines of code. It's a lot of code that I put into this. So, but it's built for you guys. Like, it's built for businesses. This is what you guys need to know. If you don't have to worry about this and you're using GStacker, that makes me happy, because that's what I built it for. and it's also helping you because it's bringing people in the door. So that's kind of, quid pro quo, I guess you could say, as they say in the attorney world. I'll help you if you help me. So if you want to find out more, just go to gstacker.com. That's where we have everything there, and you can get your 2 stacks for free right there. And they're 30. You can use them for 30 days. You have nothing to worry about. You got a whole 30 days to use those 2 free stacks, and you can see exactly what it does for, and use the content. Use the content that it generates for you to push out on your social media channels. You get it free. It's already built there to see how to one up on your competitors. So use it. If you're going to use these 2 stacks for free, use the information that it generates for you. It will only harm you if you don't.
"21st Century Entrepreneurship" with Martin Piskarik.